Hello, welcome to another episode of Becoming a Powerhouse Brand. I'm coming in today with a bit of a kind of journey that I've been on. I know I've shared this right back in one of my earlier episodes of the podcast about my journey and really sort of that self-discovery, really identifying who it is that I am, having been asked the question, "Who are you?" and instantly responding with the titles that I had. So I am a mum, I am a business owner, like listing all of these things without actually really understanding who I am. And it's taken literally years for me to really discover this new version of me. Now, as a mum of three, obviously you just get straight into it, don't you? Once you've had a child, your whole world is wrapped around and evolves around this new person you need to keep alive and healthy and happy and safe. And it's like I don't even know how to describe it. Anyone that's listening to this that has children will know that literally your entire life changes in an instant. The second that baby is born, everything changes. And I read some really interesting things the other day. So I'm just going to cover a few facts because I think with so many women that become entrepreneurs, it is because a lot of them do it because they've either been forced out of a job, they have decided to have children, and going back to work either doesn't work for them because it's not an option. Like it wasn't an option for me. I very much had the choice of returning full time or not at all. So obviously I chose not at all. But for a lot of women, they're actually like almost forced out of the workplace during maternity leave. As soon as the kind of business knows that that person is expecting, they instantly rule them out as an employee. They start to think, okay, well, we're going to have to replace her for maternity leave, and then she's probably not going to come back. And it's this whole mindset, which I know there's a lot of work being done on this at the moment in the UK and hopefully overseas as well, but I'm only familiar with the UK side of things. Um, and I just think we are, for a lot of women, we're kind of not forced into running a business because it is no easy thing at all. And a lot of women do decide to actually, I do want to be a stay-at-home mum and I don't want to be doing anything else. And I'm happy being dependent on someone else or others to help me get by and just live my life in the way that I choose. And there is nothing wrong with that. But obviously, if you're listening to this, chances are you're going to be an entrepreneur. And also, if you're listening to this, you're probably a mum too. So you'll know what it's like trying to juggle starting a business, scaling a business, knowing what to be doing when, juggling everything around your kids, working those late nights in the evening because the only time you get to work is when they're in bed, and then you've got the wake ups, and it's just this constant like spiral. And one of the things that I definitely didn't do right at the beginning was to really like allow myself to identify like who this new version of me was, because the old you, once you have a child, is no longer there and probably will never return again. That chapter of your life has gone. And now it's about really embracing this new version of you. But that is a real struggle for so many women. And I know I didn't even realize it at the time, but I was really struggling with it myself. But I didn't know that. I thought I was just exhausted and overwhelmed and didn't have people around me that also had young children because none of my close friends had any children. And I didn't meet any like entrepreneur friends for a while after having kids that also had children. And in my sort of close area, it took me literally years to make friends here. It's actually really hard to make friends as a mum because a lot of people have their own kind of groups. If they're from the same area, they all naturally have children a similar age and they go to all the baby clubs. But actually, as an introvert, I would go to things like baby clubs and be that person that would be at the side where everybody else all had their own groups. And I just didn't feel like I had that group of friends. And it felt really lonely for a long, long time. And now, thankfully, I have like the most incredible mum friends from the school run that I started chatting with. And now they're like really close friends and we meet up all the time. And it's just amazing. But when I didn't have that, it felt like a very lonely place. And the entrepreneurial world can feel very lonely, especially when you work from home, you're juggling all the things, you're trying to keep a house clean, you're trying to sort the kids out, you're trying to remember all of the different admin things that you need to remember with all the different clubs and the timings, like everything. And trying to actually find out how to grow a business. Like, how do you even begin with that? It's a constant juggling act in those stages. And I just wanted to share a stat that I keep seeing flashing up on my newsfeed and all over social media. So it actually takes a woman 2 whole years after birth to get back to feeling like themselves again. 2 years. And the thing is, when you say about feeling like themselves again, it's a feeling like a part of themselves because you'll never fully be that version of you again. Like your entire life has shifted. It takes 2 whole years for their hormones to return to a normal level, 2 years for their brain chemistry to balance, and it actually takes up to 5 years for you to really identify this new version of you, to really understand who you are as a person. 5 years of those kinds of shifts, transformations, self-discovery. And this is something that nobody is teaching you when you actually are at school, when you have a relationship, when you decide you want to have children. Nobody tells you, they tell you it's going to be hard, you can have the late nights, the sleepless nights, all of those things, but nobody tells you about your own personal journey that you will naturally go on after birth. And it's the very reason why so many relationships actually end during that window because there's a lack of patience and understanding. And I think there needs to be more said about it. It's the same with like perimenopause and menopause. There's so much being said about that now that actually there is more of an understanding for everybody to know how they can support their like loved ones during those stages. And I just think that as entrepreneurs, if you've gone through the whole like new baby thing, obviously I've gone through it 3 times and each time has been totally different. I've totally shifted in different ways after each one. And actually, the one that knocked me the most was my third, because that was an emergency C-section, which is obviously the complete opposite of what my planned beautiful home birth with our hired like water pool, birthing pool thing was going to be. That was a very, very different experience. It was sort of a plan, it wasn't a planned C-section, but basically it was either he had to turn, he was transverse, so he was completely sideways, so there was no way I could physically give birth naturally. So I was doing all of these like Reiki things, like all of this stuff to try and get him to turn right up until the day I gave birth, and he just never did. So I had to have a C-section. It was very, very traumatic, and it took me a long time to recover from that, mentally and physically as well. And I just think that there needs to be more said about this. And I felt really uncomfortable sharing it after going through that experience because I felt like this guilt of like, this is what I'm here to do. Like, literally, you're here to carry a child, to give birth, to be able to provide for them. Like, that is the whole purpose of a woman. And the fact that I didn't feel able to do it or that I didn't feel good enough to do it was really traumatic and it had a huge knock-on effect to my business. And the reason I wanted to share this today is because I think it's so important to allow ourselves time to step back. We don't have to have our foot on the gas all the time and be pushing, pushing, pushing. And one thing that I have definitely learned myself from my own personal experience is when I am working with a coach or a mentor, it really, really helps when I am working with somebody that understands that kind of life. So somebody that has children themselves, I find I just have so much better connection with them because they understand the juggles of that kind of life. Now, this is only my personal experience because I've worked with people that do and don't have children. I've had so much out of both. So I've always had a return of investment. But in terms of business growth, mindset, and everything, I just find that I get so much more out of working with somebody that also has children or has had children in the past and they're grown up, that they've gone through that stage because there needs to be an understanding of some days are going to be hard. Some days you're literally not going to be able to do the work that you'd planned to do because you've either got a poorly child, you've not slept all night, and you need to be okay with allowing yourself that space to actually step back, just give yourself that day to reset and then start again tomorrow because that is just going to happen at all ages. Like whether you've got a baby or whether you've got a teenager, there's always going to be things that happen that weren't planned, that you weren't expecting, that maybe come at a really inconvenient time because you've got loads of stuff on, but that is okay. And I think as long as you are really embracing who you are, really feeling aligned, and if something doesn't feel aligned, if something's triggering you, making you feel guilty, making you feel overwhelmed, if something just feels like there's a resistance there in taking that next step, then just pause, allow yourself that time to pause. Building a successful brand, building a standout brand, one that brings in your aligned people, is one where you're actually showing up from a place of integrity and intention, being really intentional with your actions that you take. Now, this is not about, oh, I'm really tired at the moment, so I'm just not going to do anything for a whole week. Obviously, if there are things going on that you need that week off, then that's fine. But maybe make sure that you have the support there in terms of being visible in other ways. If you've got a VA that can help with things like engagement in social media groups, or if you can even have a couple of DM conversations while you're off, like whatever it is, just to do something that is going to help you so that when you do feel good to come back properly, you're not starting from the ground up. Because actually, particularly with the in the world of social media, it's very hard because you don't need to take that much time off to have a huge dip in like your audience reach and your engagement and all of that kind of thing. And it can feel very frustrating, which is definitely something you don't want to have after allowing yourself that space to breathe. Once you've had that breathing space, you don't want to be coming straight back in with a bang with like challenges that you want to hit. So if you can make anything easier for yourself to ease back into work, then that is amazing. But I just wanted to really share this episode today to speak to the woman who is perhaps going through a bit of a difficult time at the moment. Maybe you're feeling a bit lost in identifying who you are. Maybe you've got that really clear vision of exactly what it is you want to achieve, and you know it's going to happen, but you're just feeling in that place right now where maybe things aren't moving at the speed you'd want them to. Maybe you are feeling like, I just don't know what that next step that I need to do is. I don't know what spaces I need to be in. I'm not sure what investment I should or shouldn't be making. And that is okay. Just give yourself that time. Like, don't rush into anything. But equally, don't give yourself too much time that you then don't take any action, because that is equally just as dangerous to play in that game. If you have that big goal and that big vision, and if you think every single day, what one thing can I do to allow myself to step closer to that and also to bring it towards you? Because remember, we're not chasing the vision, we're taking the action. That means that vision is actually coming towards us, we're attracting it to us. So if you can do anything, and sometimes it might even be a lifestyle thing. So if your big vision is you're going to have less clients, you're going to be making more money, you've got more freedom, you're going to be traveling more, you're going to be going and walking the dog more, you're going to be more focused with the kids, maybe you're going to be fully present, maybe you are going to launch something that feels really exciting. What one thing could you do today? Even if you're feeling really overwhelmed, what could you do today? Could it be you're going to allow yourself that time to go for a walk? Because not only is that going to shift your mindset, your mood, it's also doing one of the things that you already know in your future vision you want to be doing more of. So it's then not taking the wrong action in that that's not helping you to achieve your goals. That is one of your goals. So it's thinking about things differently, putting things into perspective of how could I actually start implementing the things that I already have in my vision of what I want for my future success. How could I start introducing that into my daily practice now? If you have a 1 hour morning routine, start doing it now. If you're allowing yourself that space to breathe and step back from like the business, like showing up everywhere stage, do that morning routine. Allow yourself that time to do it. Start living your life in the way that you want to be living it in the future version of you. You are okay to take a break. You are okay to be prioritizing you. And if anything, you should be prioritizing you anyway. You're the person that should be putting on your own oxygen mask first, because it means that you're able to then help everybody else around you in a better way. So whether that's your client, your family, friends, you're a much nicer, happier, energetic person when you have filled your own cup. So allow yourself that time to really process anything that you're going through right now. I know this episode is going to hit anyone that is listening to this that just needed to hear this today. So I'm sending loads of love, loads of hugs. If you want to drop me a DM, my inbox is always open. But I hope this has really helped you today, just to put things into perspective and realize there's nothing wrong with you. There's not anything that you're doing wrong. It's just flipping that sort of perspective and thinking about things from a different point of view and really focusing on that clear vision. If you have a vision that is so clear that you know you're going to achieve it and you know your life is going to dramatically change once you have hit that goal, then start taking those little changes from that future into your daily practice now, because I promise you it will shift everything when you start to do that. Any small thing, it doesn't even have to cost any money. If you're at a point right now where things just feel really hard, then do anything that you can, allow yourself that space to breathe, and tomorrow is another day. And you can come in with a whole new energy, but don't try and force anything. If it means you need to message a client to say, I'm really sorry, something's come up, I'm going to have to do this tomorrow or next week. If you have got good clients that are aligned to you, they will be more than happy to wait. Nothing is that urgent that it has to be done today. So give yourself space to breathe. And like I said, my inbox is always open. So do make sure that you drop me a message. I'm more than happy to support with anything that I can. I hope you have a beautiful day. And I will see you in another episode of Becoming a Powerhouse Brand. Mwah.
Thank you for listening to this podcast episode. If you're ready to unlock the secrets of building your own personal brand, head over to my website, baileyandrue.com, where you can grab my free Brand Brilliance Blueprint today. It's your roadmap to success in the world of branding. And hey, let's stay connected beyond the podcast. Follow me on Instagram at baileyandrue for daily inspiration, behind the scenes insights, and exclusive content to fuel your brand journey. See you there.